What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. It seems Boris Johnson could be facing a revolt from backbench MPs within the ERG who are concerned about the possibility British troops could be sent to serve in an EU defence force, which is something no one wants, but was added into the disgraceful Maybot deals or original surrender treaty as it should be known. This, of course, is something many people in the UK are worried about should we leave the EU with a deal. Unfortunately, the mainstream media rarely, if ever, report anything about this, but the Express newspaper have reported on it this morning, so let's check out the article on it and the video discussing the EU Defence Union stitch-up we need to avoid. The article headlines EU Army outrage as British troops risk being forced into EU Defence Force after Brexit. Boris Johnson was last night facing a revolt by Tory MPs over fears that British troops could be dragooned into an EU defence force after Brexit. Members of the European Research Group of Backbenchers will today meet senior figures from the Veterans for Britain pressure group that is campaigning against close military ties with Brussels. We'll watch the video in a second. Both groups are expected to discuss tactics for putting pressure on the Prime Minister to scrap significant sections of his proposed EU divorce deal. The meeting in the Commons follows concerns that the Prime Minister's revised offer to the EU contains a range of commitments that will leave the UK tied into the bloc's common security and defence policy that some critics see as being the beginning of an EU army. Some Tory MPs have not ruled out voting against the deal in Parliament if the military cooperation clauses are not removed. Well, I feel this story could be kind of dead now, since there is no deal and there's never going to be a deal, which was recently announced by Number 10, because Merkel wants to keep Ireland permanently in the customs union, which of course is never going to fly because of the Good Friday Agreement. It's not possible. Former Minister Steve Baker, the chairman of the ERG, said just as Boris is now firmly headed towards an advanced free trade agreement instead of the hated Chequers plan, we must also escape commitments to the EU's defence union. Many of us are concerned, but it's not too late to preserve the independence of our armed forces. And so we fucking should. We shouldn't even be having this discussion at the end of the day. The fact that Maybot tried to sign this away is just incredible, and goes to show the level of her treachery, really. He added, "We have full confidence in the Prime Minister and his determination to take us out properly." A senior military figure is expected to brief ERG members today on the defence implications of the proposed divorce deal, which remain from the original draft deal negotiated by former Prime Minister Theresa May. And here we have, should the army be part of an EU military force after Brexit? I obviously said no, as did most people, it would seem. One Veterans for Britain source said the Prime Minister may have got rid of the backstop, but that was not the only thing that was wrong with the withdrawal agreement. The defence element is a serious threat to our sovereignty, but this issue has been completely overlooked. At present, the divorce deal promises to keep the UK linked into a series of EU military structures, including the European Defence Fund, the European Defence Agency, and Permanent Structured Cooperation, otherwise known as PESCO. Britain could be forced to pay billions of pounds into the EU defence projects and contribute troops and other military assets to Brussels defence units as a result. Sorry, but we ain't having that. And luckily now, the EU have actually rejected Boris Johnson's deal proposals, and he said that there's never going to be a deal with the EU now, so it's a no-deal Brexit. Hopefully, this article means nothing, and this meeting today is irrelevant, because we're leaving without any deal, by the looks of it. The pledges were included to demonstrate the government's unconditional commitment to European defence despite the referendum decision to leave the EU, which was Theresa May's pledges, not the current government's pledges, and definitely not something the people of Britain wanted, or the armed forces for that matter, from the ones I've spoke to. Lieutenant General Jonathan Riley, a former Army infantry officer and supporter of Veterans for Britain, said, "Britain will be structurally, diplomatically and financially tied and subordinated to the defence architecture of the unaccountable, unelectable EU Commission." I couldn't have said it better myself, Lieutenant. That is spot on. The commitments are set out in clauses 104 to 106 of the Political Declaration, which along with the withdrawal agreement forms the legal text of the divorce agreement. Now let's take a look at the video that was accompanying this article discussing the EU Defence Union stitch-up that we need to avoid.
Today I want to talk to you about the monumental stitch-up that is the European Defence Union. As many of you know, in the Lisbon Treaty at Article 28, the blueprint was set for this common defence union. There are 7 pillars to it. Now, 5 of them have been signed up to since our Leave referendum in 2016. Those pillars represent the European Commission's control over financial contributions by the signatory states, national procurement, national defence industries, and critically, our foreign and security policy. Well, you all say it's fine, we're leaving, and the Lisbon Treaty will no longer apply. Well, you'd be right, apart from the fact that if you look at page 196 of the withdrawal bill, it explicitly repeats the wording of Article 28 in respect to this Common Defence Union. So when we leave, on day one, we are signed up to just a different treaty in relation to what Lisbon Treaty Article 28 said. It's exactly the same thing. And the legal glue for it all is in Clause 104 of the Political Declaration under the very nicely titled Areas of Shared Interest.
Well, there you have it. As the woman in the video states, yes, we get out of the Lisbon Treaty, but Theresa May signed us up to a new treaty with exactly the same wording you see on the screen now, keeping us structurally locked into the EU defence framework and eventually the EU army. Sorry, Boris and the snivelling shitweasels in Parliament, but fuck that. The British people don't want it, the servicemen and women don't want it, so you better fuck that shit off ASAP. Luckily, as I said, it doesn't look like there's ever going to be a deal, so we might not have to worry about this. Our army is our own and will always be that. It's Her Majesty's Armed Forces, not the EU's or the British government's. This is the Queen's Army we are talking about, whose job it is to protect these islands and the Queen's subjects. That's us, dickhead, not the European Union's unelected bureaucrats. It baffles me that any Prime Minister ever even considered this as an option. But then, I remember it was fucking Maybot in charge. Luckily, she is gone now, Boris is here, and the EU, it seems, aren't going to do a deal with us, so WTO terms it is. So hopefully Dominic Cummings is already wiping his arse with clause 104 to 106 of the Maybot Surrender Treaty. But anyway, I'm going to end the video there, guys. I want to thank the channel's PayPal, Patreon and Subscribe Star members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.
But the time is coming. The time is coming, Mr. Speaker, when even these turkeys won't be able to prevent Christmas.
Who will remember Georgie Porgy Pudding and Pie kissed the girls and made them cry. When the boys came out to play, Jeremy Corbyn ran away.